Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to wait just a minute or two for participants to join. We already have a hand raised. I don't know whether that's a legitimate question or an accident. A couple of people have raised their hands. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free to use the Q&A or the chat functionality for now. Yeah, if there is a legitimate question, feel free to raise it now. We're the Red Neola team are based in Cape Town, so we're at 1 o'clock prompt is early for us. Gail is based in Joburg, so she's been ready for quite a while now. So seeing as we're on Cape Town time, we'll give everyone the benefit of a couple of minutes just to join. All right, we're not going to punish the punctual. So let's kick off. A packed agenda today, so don't want to spend too much time right at the outset. I connection to stabilize in the questions. We'll Gail Schimmel and the advertising director. Is it just me or you?
Are you? Should we just see
Hi,
if is my audio quality better? Andrew, do you want to try again?
Gail is good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to be very quick. Gail, I'm not even going to. Gail, do you want your own bio? I'll do some very quick housekeeping, so we can jump over to you and skip us in the technical.
Andrew, you've gone again.
Hi everyone, I'm happy
to I see Andrew handing it over to me in the comments. Okay, can everybody hear me? Am I good? Okay, lots of yeses. Thank you, everybody. Guys, raising your hands isn't going to help, I'm afraid, because I have got no idea how in a webinar to allow a person to speak. So if you can use the chat comments, and the rest of the team will be monitoring the chat comments. I've got it open now on the audio. So if the audio goes bad from my side, let me know. Andrew looks completely frozen to me. I don't know if it's the same for you. Now we're going to get really advanced, and I'm going to share my screen, and let's hope I don't make everything crash. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is good, because now I cannot see the chat. Okay, can everyone see the screen? I think if you can't hear a thing, I see someone in the chat can't hear a thing, then the problem's on your side. but if you can hear me and not Andrew, then the problem is Andrew. So we can see, everyone can see. Okay, everyone's good. Let us get started. So because Andrew could not introduce me, I will introduce myself. I am Gail Schimmel. I am the CEO of the Advertising Regulatory Board. And I will tell you exactly what we are. In fact, I'm not even going to bother telling you what we are. I'm going to tell you exactly what we are in the talk. So I'm trying to think, I'm sure Andrew would have said lots and lots of nice things about me. So imagine that he said lots of nice things about me. And I think he also would have told you that I am going to speak as fast as I can so that we can get through as much as possible, and that I am going to be talking we're hoping about 45 minutes, and then we will open the floor to questions at that point. You can put your questions in the Q&A in the meantime, and the team will monitor it for me. But otherwise, if you can save your questions till the end and put them in the Q&A then. And what you are going to see today is basically an ARB 101, and we're going to go through the basics of the ARB, and we are going to talk about ads, and we are going to talk about the rules, and then you can ask me any question that you've ever wanted to ask about advertising regulation. And if I can't answer it, then we're in trouble, and then we're all in deep, deep trouble. So let's get started. Look, they're nice things about me. That's a little story about me. You'll get that in your packs. And we're going to start with the question of why self-regulation is important. Because really, when one starts this conversation, I often start talking on the assumption that everybody knows why self-regulation is important, and not everybody knows why self-regulation is important. So we've got to start with that. And I see there is some housekeeping going on in your chat, so if you want to check on that, you can. But why is it that we even need something like the ARB? Why can't we just let advertising be a free-for-all? And the answer is here. We need to create a trusted advertising space. And you can actually ignore everything else on this slide for that first one. Because if you are going to have advertising, you need people to believe in the advertising. You need the advertising to fall on ears that are willing to listen to it. So if you think about when government tells us the other day when Cyril told us that load shedding would really, really soon be over. Do we believe him? No, nobody believes him, because we don't trust the space of government communication. We do not want the same to happen to advertising, because then when an advertiser makes a claim, they will automatically not be believed. And the only way you can have a trusted space is if consumers know that that space is regulated. They know if they see something that they're not happy about, they can go somewhere and someone will do something about it. And that is why it's important that you have some sort of regulation in South Africa. The other side on that is we really, really, really don't want government to be the ones to be regulating the space. So that's why we want self-regulation. We want the industry, the decision-making about the rules in the hands of the industry who does it. We want decisions to be made by people who understand the industry, and we want the rules to be made by people who understand the industry. Self-regulation is fast and it is cheap. If you are a consumer, you can complain to the ARB for free. We try to have all our decisions made within 30 days. We don't always succeed, but we do try to do that. We are dynamic to change. So if something happens and you need a fast rule, it's not like where there's a government regulation and it takes 700 years to change. And I really am only slightly exaggerating with 700 years. We are able to change our rules quickly. We are able to make our decisions quickly. So we are dynamic to change. And then we meet the international gold standard. You don't want South Africa regulating advertising in a way that is different from the rest of the world. You want that we are meeting what happens internationally. And South Africa, I think I might say it on another slide. We'll see. South Africa is part of an international body of self-regulatory organizations, and we all do things in more or less the same way and follow the same core rules. So we want to follow that international gold standard. We step into the shoes of the ASA as a self-regulator of advertising, and we administer the industry-owned code of advertising practice. That does not belong to me, it belongs to you. We administer it on your behalf. We look at the content of advertising. We do not look at whether the billboard was 20 meters from the side of the road or 20 centimeters. We only look at what's in that advertising. And we are a registered nonprofit company with our terms of reference set out in our MOI, which you can find on our website. I should have read that like they do the end of those financial ads. We are registered. But if you're really into the legalities of the ARB, you can find our MOI there. Our members. These are the 3 founding members. These are the members who, when the ASA went into liquidation, came on board and said, we do not want self-regulation to die in South Africa. We want to keep it alive. So we have the ACA, which represents the traditional agencies, ARB, which represents digital agencies and platforms, and MASA, which represents the, sorry, I'm just moving my little screen, which represents the marketers. Then we have NAB in their own kind of separate category, and in a way, NAB came on as a member of the ARB, but I keep them separate because the broadcasters are also bound by the Electronic Communications Act, which I will talk about. And then slowly we got more members. We got the PFI quickly, and then since the PFI, we have had the following members come in the last about year. The Vape Products Association came in when I realized that you could advertise vapes to under 18s, and being the proud owner of some under 18s, I wasn't happy with that. So we got moving there. We've got the Drinks Federation of South Africa. They've been on for a while, but they used to be called aware.org. We have the independent publishers, we have the insurance industry, we have the cosmetics industry, and those are all member bodies of the ARB, and their members are bound by the decisions of the ARB. Some important things there. We are recognized in the Electronic Communications Act. So the Electronic Communications Act was drafted when it was the ASA, but we got really, really lucky because the way it was drafted, the ARB could step into the shoes of the ASA because it refers to or whoever administers the code of advertising practice. So that is why broadcasters are bound by our decisions, whether or not the NAB is a member. Broadcasters are bound by our decisions. We have international recognition by ICAS and EASA. These are the 2 international bodies. ICAS is the international one, EASA is the European one. And the ARB is recognized as the South African, and in fact, at the moment, the only African member of ICAS. On the executive committee of ICAS, so the South African voice is heard internationally when it comes to these 2 issues of advertising. We have an industry-owned code. As I said, it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to me, and it's based on the international code. There are things that are completely different from the international code, but there are core points that are the same all over the world. The next point is really, really, really important. We are reactive. That means we can only investigate something if we get a complaint. We cannot investigate something without a complaint. It would simply, we don't have the resources to monitor all advertising. And if we're not monitoring all advertising, then we can't monitor any advertising. It can't be that you are unlucky enough as an advertiser to have a billboard outside my office, so I see it every day, and so that's the one that always gets into trouble. So we need complaints before we can act. And then we are funded directly by industry, and I think I'll talk about that in more detail. So I'm going to leave that for a moment. We also have a movement thing, my words are failing me, a responsible marketer, responsible advertiser program, that's the word. And these are marketers who've committed themselves, whether or not they are members of a member body, by signing a pledge through their own sense of ethics to being bound by our jurisdiction. So as well as having our members who are bound by our jurisdiction, we also have these responsible advertisers. We also have responsible media and responsible agencies. All of these can sign up to be bound by us and be part of the self-regulatory system. And we are moving towards, with the help of Red and Yellow, having a responsible influencer program as well. Here's our funding. We have the direct funding model. There is a vision of moving towards a membership model because a direct funding model makes absolutely no sense, but it works. And what it does is we go to companies, whether marketers or agencies or media, and we ask them to fund us directly on a monthly or annual basis. And for some reason, they say yes. And the reason is that it's really particularly mad is we don't tell them what to pay. We just ask them to pay us whatever they want to pay us, which means we're not a grudge purchase. So we have a high retention rate in our funding, and it's working. It shouldn't on paper, but it does. If you want me to talk more about that in the Q&A, well, I don't think it should work, I'm happy to, but it is working. We use the same model as is used in Sweden, and we take advice when we need advice from Sweden. So we're not the only people in the world doing this mad model. So if you take what I've said so far, you'll see that there are 3 levels of ARB involvement. And please, if you're listening to me from the industry and you are an agency or you are a marketer, please look at this carefully. Our members are industry bodies that bind their members. There is no fee. We do not charge a member body to be a member because we want to be as open and as accessible to the industry as possible. If you're not a member of a member body, individual entities can bind themselves to the ARB jurisdiction. Again, no fee. You just sign a little pledge saying, we believe that what you're doing is great. If you make a decision against us, we will follow it. Off you go, and you don't pay us anything. And then we have our funders. And our funders are those people that we have spoken to directly and fund us. Okay. Now, if you are a lawyer, and I saw in the comments that there's at least one lawyer in the room. If you are a lawyer, you will be aware that we have faced over the last few years a challenge in the courts, the Bliss decision. What happened with this matter is we made a decision, the directorate made a decision, the directorate actually dismissed the complaint. The complaint was laid by Colgate against Bliss, and it was about the soaps, Securix and Protex, and Colgate said that the packaging of Securix imitates the packaging of Protex. So the directorate dismissed the complaint for very technical reasons. The Advertising Appeals Committee said that it was that it did imitate, and the final appeal committee said that it did imitate. They then took the matter on review to the court. Review is a process whereby you say to the courts that you think there is something wrong with the way the decision was made. And they took it on review, and during that review process, something very strange happened, and the judge raised a question of whether or not the ARB had jurisdiction. I really am simplifying this, but the judge raised it, sent everyone home to redraft their papers, and suddenly we were fighting for the right of the ARB to make a decision against non-members for the guidance of our members. So in other words, how can we tell, particularly the broadcasters, what they can broadcast if we're not allowed to make a decision on non-members? So we were fighting for that right to make a decision about any advertiser for the guidance of our members. It went to the Supreme Court of Appeal and we won. I'll take you through that in a second. And then it went to the Constitutional Court where leave to appeal was refused. And what that meant is that the Supreme Court of Appeal decision held, and if you're finding this very boring, I promise I'm going to be done soon. But basically, the important things from a legal point of view that they found a failure to raise any objection to jurisdiction and subsequent participation in proceedings is sufficient to demonstrate submission to jurisdiction. So if you are taking part in an ARB matter and you do not want to be bound by us, you've got to tell us. That's what that means. Secondly, and this is the big one, that's why it's bold, we are entitled to consider, on behalf of its members, complaints in respect of advertisements published by non-members of the ARB, so that its members may make an election whether or not they wish to publish that advertisement. This is incidental to the ARB's constitutional right to freedom of expression and association. So what this says is we can make a decision on a non-member's advertising, and our members are entitled to refuse to publish advertising as part of their right to freedom of expression. So in other words, and this is something that's come up every now and then, a TV station, a newspaper, any type of media is allowed to say, we will not publish that advertising. They don't have to have a decision from us even. They are allowed to choose what they publish in advertising. They don't have to publish any old misleading crap that is given to them. So this is really important. And now here's something very exciting. Hot off the press this morning. So what happened after the Constitutional Court decision that the Supreme Court decision held? The matter was referred back for review, because remember, the review has now never been heard. There's just been a fight about our jurisdiction. And the review, the question of, did our final appeal committee make the right decision in the right way? It's more about the way. It's not, did they make the right decision, because decisions are always subjective to some extent, but did they make a decision according to the norms of law, and did they make a rational decision? And this very morning, so you are the first group of people hearing about this, the Supreme Court, the High Court issued a finding that the review, the decision of the final appeal committee of the ARB was legally made and rationally made, and it stands. And they have given Bliss Brands 3 months to remove their advertising from the shelves. So that is very exciting, fresh news. Okay, what happens when you bring a matter to the ARB? The first thing is we get a complaint. I've said to you that we have to have a complaint in order to do anything. We assess that complaint, and in that assessment process, we ask ourselves, do we have jurisdiction? Do we have all the information that we need? And does the complaint have merit? Only 20% of complaints make it past that assessment phase, because sometimes we don't have jurisdiction, sometimes we don't have all the information we need, and the complainant, we don't just sit there and go, oh, they didn't tell us everything we need to know. We ask the complainant for that information, but if we can't get more information from the complainant, we can't carry on. And then finally, people are stark raving bonkers. Let me tell you, you do not realize how mad the people of this world are until you do my job and you see the complaints that come in. My favorite one that I use as an example here is a woman who said that she could only see exactly what the ad was for when she put her glasses on, and she didn't think that that was fair. And we had to write back and go, no, ma'am, you have to put your glasses on before you can start judging the ad. And I laugh particularly because I've reached that age where I wear 2 sets of glasses, one to see far and one to see near. And it's never occurred to me that other people are responsible for making me see. So once we've decided that we're going to formally investigate that ad, we ask for a response. We do everything that we can to get a response from the advertiser. We don't always manage, particularly obviously if they're trying to duck and dive, they're not going to respond to us, and we are still going to make a decision without the response. What often happens at the response stage is that we will get something back from the advertiser saying, oh, we've already changed the ad, or oh, we coincidentally are changing the ad, or from the more honest ones, we see the point. We see that this complaint has some validity and we're going to change the ad. At that point, we then go back to the complainant, we say the ad has been fixed, and we close our file. We do not issue a decision. We used to. We do not issue a decision if the ad has been fixed. But if they don't do that at this stage, if they don't respond, or if they respond on the merits, or if they respond to say that they don't think that we can't for anything, we proceed to a decision. On the issue where if they don't respond, the mere fact that they don't respond doesn't mean that the complaint will be upheld. We will still consider it in detail in coming to our conclusion. Decision levels are, the first decisions are made by the directorate. These are decisions that are made on the papers. We don't hear from anybody more than what's been submitted, and it's made by full-time staff and some external consultants to the ARB, and it is signed off by me. So if you think we're making stupid decisions, then please go on to, when we switch out of the display thing, you can look at my face, you can have my face in mind when you think of it. I don't always, so I'm informed by my panel of decision makers, but I am the one who, first of all, is going to have to sign off the legal fees, and I am the one who's going to have to talk to the media about the decision. So I have to at least kind of agree with the decision before it goes forward. If you're not happy with our decision, you can appeal to the Advertising Appeals Committee. There you have 10 10 days to lodge that appeal. And that is a panel made up of industry representatives. And I'm just looking at my list in front of me. Andrew is in fact on that panel, so he can tell you if he wants to. If he can speak to us by the end of this clearly, he can tell us what it's like to be on that panel. It is chaired by senior counsel. The current chair is Nazreem Rajab-Badlinder, and it is made up of representatives of all our members. And then the final appeal committee is chaired by a retired judge. At the advertising appeals committee, people can come and speak for 10 minutes, and they cannot bring their lawyers. It has to be someone internal speaking at that level. And then final appeal committee, now they can go mad. They can bring the lawyers, they can speak for hours. We prefer them to speak for an hour, but they can carry on longer if they must. And this one is chaired by retired Judge Ngwepe, and it is a few senior members of the industry who sit on that panel. Okay, as the boring part is over, we have got to the fun part, and we are going to be watching some ads. The first thing I'm going to talk about is offence. And I am going to, the way this part of the show is going to work is I'm going to tell you why we received a complaint about an ad. And then I'm going to play the ad for you. And then you are going to get a chance to decide whether you think the complaint should have been upheld or the complaint should have been dismissed. So if you uphold a complaint, it means you pull the ad. If you dismiss a complaint, it means you let the ad carry on. So this is a complaint we received that it caused offence. Our offensiveness clause says that you may not cause widespread sectoral or serious offence, and that it has to be considered in lines with the values of our Constitution. And this ad, the complaint was, in essence, that colonialism is not funny, and that this ad touches on colonialism and therefore is offensive. So I'm going to play the ad for you.
A long time ago, Big Jonana left home to satisfy his hunger for adventure. His spirit was unstoppable, and his hunger was too big. Big Jonana did many things, but he will always be remembered for discovering a foreign land.
Wala mangamla? Yeah, into ngiyancanga le ndawo yazi. Ngicela ukuyibiza Europe. Europe.
Big Jonana. And that is the legend of Big John.
Yazini, nami ngicela Big John ne.
No problem.
Okay, so I'm being a bit unfair to you with all these because you don't see the full arguments on both sides. But I would like if we could bring magic people in the background, if we could bring the poll up and see who thinks that this ad is offensive because of colonialism, and who thinks that this ad is great. So if you want to pull the ad, you uphold the complaint. If you want to dismiss, oh, this is fun watching it happen in real time. Okay, quickly get your last answers in. Okay. It's still coming in. Okay. So, the poll is ended, and out of interest, 112 of you answered. Where are the rest of you? Please tell me you're not asleep. That would be so sad. Okay. And you, 37% of you wanted to uphold the complaint and pull the ad. 63% of you wanted to dismiss the complaint. I'm very interested in this outcome because I thought that more of you would want to dismiss it. I don't know if maybe you've read your cheat notes and you know how this one turned out, But we upheld this complaint, and it was a very, very contentious issue. Very difficult one. We were highly criticized, but like as in death threats level criticized in social media. And people loved this ad. But the finding of all three of our committees, the Directorate, the Advertising Appeals Committee, and the Final Appeal Committee, was that colonialism, which this ad kind of explores because it shows that backward journey of Big John making that journey back to Europe and colonizing Europe. The feeling was that colonialism is one of those things like the Holocaust, like a genocide, that you cannot joke about. The Final Appeal Committee said that you can make a parody of one of these terrible things, but if you make that parody, you also have to point out why it was bad, which frankly to me does not sound like a very fun and sexy ad. So I don't see that that's going to be happening. Like, oh, here's the bad things that happens in a genocide. Now let's make a joke about it. So the finding of the Final Appeal Committee here, like I said, very controversial, was that this ad was pulled. And now I cannot print slides. Okay. What about humor? Do we not have a sense of humor? Can we not see that that ad was hysterically funny? I can hear all of you saying that. So let's have a look at this ad. The complaint here was that it belittles our hardworking public service people who are doing their best to help us despite the challenges that they face. Have a watch.
So I say, no, you did that in blue pen.
Tommy, let's tell them.
There's no power. They must come back tomorrow.
But tomorrow's a public holiday.
I know.
Just tell them the system is offline.
Next.
Okay, let's have a poll. Who thinks that this is offensive to our hardworking public servants? And who thinks that this is not? So if you want the ad pulled, you uphold the complaint. If you want to keep the ad, you dismiss the complaint.
I hope some of my tech issues have been resolved. I've moved location. Can you hear me? Great.
We
I
can,
was thinking
Andrew.
it would be fantastic if we could have the national election on the 29th of May, just like this in real time. It does make for
It would be
compelling
great,
viewing.
imagine. Imagine, it would be so open and honest and also so quick, except if your Zoom didn't work on that day. Okay, yeah, Andrew, we good. We can hear you. That's good news. Okay. How do I know when the poll's over? It goes, I'm over. Hey. Okay, excellent. It seems some of you who were previously sleeping have woken up, so congrats to you on that. And we had 77% of you participate this time. And we have 77% of you dismiss the complaints and 23% of you uphold the complaint. Again, I'm quite surprised by the number of upholds, but in this case, the majority was with the ARB. And we dismissed this complaint. We said that, first of all, this is not about a genocide or colonialism. This is not about something involving dead people and horror. This is about the ongoing joke that we all share of South Africans of electricity being down and public holidays and how bad really our government departments are at providing a service all day. And the joke is around that, and it's a very South African joke, and we have to be able to laugh at ourselves to some extent. And we also found the last frame of this ad very important, that she does go back to work. So it is clearly all a joke. She wasn't really ripping the people off, which was part of the complaint, and tricking the people and being nasty to the people. She was hardworking, and at the end of the ad, we see that she was hardworking. So that ad was allowed to carry on its life. Okay. Most of our complaints are about misleading and substantiation issues. So this is, if you go to market with a claim, that claim must be true. You must be able to show it's true, and you must be able to substantiate it if it is an objectively substantiable claim. Now, in this one, I've just got to find my way to talk without a spoiler alert. The complaint was a competitor complaint. It was actually the first ever competitor complaint received by the ARB. And we received it from one of the top, and now I can't remember, Steers. We received it from Steers, who are the top retailer of hot chips. And they said this claim is only true for frozen chips. And that was not disputed by McCain. This claim is only true for frozen chips. So, is the claim SA's #1 chip in the context viewed on this board misleading, or is it not misleading? So if we can have the poll, if you uphold the complaint, you think that this claim is misleading, and if you dismiss the complaint, you think that it is clear from the way it is presented that #1 refers to frozen chips. Okay, I'm going to wait for it to tell me that the poll's closed, but it does look like everyone who's going to vote has voted. Okay, I'm going to talk it through. So 83% of you have voted in this poll. That's good news. And 66% of you want to uphold the complaint. 34% of you dismiss the complaint. So 66% of you think that this ad is misleading. And the ARB agreed with 66% of you. We said that the visual is confusing. It has a hot chip as well as a frozen chip in the visual, and therefore you might think that hot chips are involved in the comparison. But our biggest thing here, and this is, if you hear me speak again this year, you're going to hear me speak about this every time I open my mouth in public. It is so easy to say, SA's #1 frozen chip. It's not going to ruin the billboard, it's not going to ruin the artwork, and it's just going to tell people the truth. What is this thing where we have to keep the truth from consumers when it's really easy to tell them the truth? So that was a big part of our reasoning. And I'm just going to remind you that if you're raising your hands, you're raising them for nothing. Please put your comments in the Q&A and in the chat, and the team behind the scenes will deal with you. So we said, because it is so easy to say SA's #1 frozen chip, and because the visual has a hot chip, this was misleading. And this will always be our view, that if you can easily tell consumers the truth, then just buddy tell them the truth. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now and give you an example of a TV ad. The complaint in the ad that you are about to watch and vote on is that Uber does not, in fact, allow you to order from several restaurants in one order. With that in mind, have a watch of this.
Volkswagen.
Sorry about that.
Let's order some food to celebrate, darling.
Chicken Thai, green curry, salmon burgers.
Booms.
Cheers, birthday girl. Live your best life, doll. You are not getting any younger.
I'll have a double cheeseburger. Remember, it's my thing.
Hey, okay.
We've got your thing. Uber Eats, get anything.
Ek het aan 'n plan gedink.
Stop. We don't want to know about
Volkswagen.
Sorry, okay. We'll just do the poll on this slide. Let's see if I can, okay, we can do the poll on this slide. So the question here is, given that Uber does not deliver more than one restaurant in one order, is this ad misleading? Come on, last few people. We had 81% of you in the last one. Come on, where are you? I'm very A-type. I need to get 80% for everything. So I need 80% of people to respond. Okay, are we closed yet? Okay. Okay, so 66% of you upheld this ad. You think that it is misleading. 34% of you dismiss this ad. You do not think it's misleading. Once again, the majority has gone with the ARB. We felt that this was misleading. We felt that there were two important moments in the ad. The first is that one woman orders with her one phone. They didn't all take their phones out and order their own order. The only one woman ordered. The second thing is only one bag was seen being delivered. There weren't a number of bags. And we considered the fact that we all wish that Uber Eats would make it so that we can order from lots of restaurants in one order. That's what we all want them to do. So you would watch this ad and you would be like, oh, they've done it. They've changed it. And they haven't changed it. I'm afraid to tell you, you can't. So we found it misleading. I'm going to comment one more thing about this ad, because this is where it is really, really frustrating working for the ARB. I can see a much bigger problem with this ad, but I'm not allowed to raise it because that is not my job. My job is to consider the complaints that we receive. I did not like the way that woman was shamed for ordering a double cheeseburger. Why the hell should she not have ordered a double cheeseburger? What is that about? Saying that women aren't allowed to order double cheeseburgers. Really, really didn't like that. That's a much bigger issue for me in this ad, but that wasn't the issue before us. But luckily, it was misleading, so I don't have to watch her. I think they amended it. Can't remember what they did. I think they amended it. Okay. Now we're going to have a poll before we watch the ad. And you are going to tell me whether you think comparative advertising is legal in South Africa. So in a minute, the poll question will be on your screens. Do you believe that comparative advertising is legal in South Africa? If you think it's legal, say yes. If you think it's illegal, say no. %, yay. Okay, 81% of you voted. Thank you very much. You fulfilled my need to always get an A. And 36% of you think that it's legal. 64% of you think that it is not legal. So mostly those of you who think that it is legal are correct, the 36%, but the 64% of you are kind of right. Because the thing about comparative advertising in South Africa is it's legal, but it is really, really, really hard to do. And the reason that it is so hard is that, number one, you cannot use your competitor's trademark. That is against the Trademarks Act, and the ARB cannot control the Trademarks Act. So if they ever change it, we'd make submissions on it, but we cannot change that rule. So you cannot use your competitor's trademark. Second of all, in terms of our rules, you cannot say anything misleading or unsubstantiated. And third of all, we do not allow that you can disparage other products. We do not allow that you can put your competitor down in order to get an advantage to make a claim. And that leaves us with, you actually have seen a comparative ad today already. That SA's number one chip is a comparative ad. It's comparing its frozen chips to all the other frozen chips in the market and saying that it's the best one. So that is a very boring type of comparative ad that we are allowed to do. So now, because you are not allowed to see comparative advertising, I'm going to show you one because I'm nice like that. True comparative advertising. If that had been shown in South Africa, you would have been stuffed. Using the trademark, disparaging the product by standing on it, very not allowed. I don't know about truth. That you might have been okay, but so that's the kind of classic sexy comparative advertising that we are not allowed. And like I said, mostly because of the trademark act. Now here's a fun one. This is about exploitation of goodwill. The rule in South Africa is that you may not, okay, let me say this in an easy way. You have to build up your own reputation. You can't bounce off the reputation of your competitor. And in advertising, you cannot do something that will make your competitor's advertising property less valuable. So this ad, you will not be surprised once you've watched it. The complaint came from Nando's. I will play it for you.
Some spicy hot, flame-grilled chicken, bursting with lacquer peri-peri.
Bruh, I could totally do with some naan.
Head rolls.
Okay, let's have the poll. Would you uphold the complaint so you'd allow it to carry on running, or would you dismiss the complaint? Remember, the rule is that you cannot lessen the value of your competitor's advertising. Come on, give me my 80%, guys. Get your votes in. Last votes, come on. Ah, there we go. Thank you, that last voter. You gave me my 80%. Okay, so 63% of you would uphold the complaint, and 38% of you are total anarchists who would have people use each other's advertising property day in, day out and make fun of each other, and maybe there's something in that. But the ARB found here that this was, first of all, it was denigrating, I'm trying to think there's a better word, but making less of Nando's. It was making Nando's out to be the lesser product, but also that it's exploiting their goodwill, as in Nando's have spent years and years and years and years and millions and millions and millions of rand building up a reputation as a excellent, if you're into chicken fast food brand. And Pedro's come along, and instead of going, well, this is why we taste so wonderful and this is what's so great about us, they're just saying to the audience, we just like Nando's. Instead of Nando's coming by us, they're not building up their own advertising goodwill. They're exploiting the advertising goodwill of Nando. So unlike, I think it was the 34% anarchists in this room, the ARB who are nice law-abiding people, said, no, you can't do that. On the whole, we're nice law-abiding people.
Some spice.
No, not you again. Okay, this one I'm going to apologize, and I'm talking as fast as I can, guys. I know we're running out of time. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize. We've got to listen to this guy talk for a bit before we get to our ad. Here, the issue is children. And I'm going to tell you what the complaint was afterwards, because I have had a bizarre, complete blank as to what ad I'm about to show you. So I'm going to show you the ad and then tell you what the complaint is. Sorry about the guy talking first.
What happened in race 3 when we come back from this?
Eric is broke. He can't afford to meet the boys. He lies. Says he has an eye infection. But his boys say it's cool.
We're coming to your house.
Now he needs an eye infection. Oh, Eric, do you know what happens to people who lie to their friends? That, Eric, that's what happens. Don't tell month-end lies. Use Hippo. Find cheaper insurance, medical aid, loans and more. Have more.
Okay, so sure. So this is a very fresh one. Those of you who read the newspaper might already know what we decided on this. We decided it quite recently. The complaint is that children are going to imitate this and put onions and chili sauce in their eyes, and that will not be nice for them. Let's have the poll and see what you guys think. How many of you want to pull the ad and uphold the complaint? How many of you want to dismiss the complaint? You don't think it will harm children? Get those last votes in. It's very close, guys. We need all the votes we can get. Come on, no one else wants to see if we can tip the scales? No, the poll has ended, and it has ended very interestingly. 46% of you uphold the complaint, you would pull the ad. 54% of you dismiss the complaint, you would allow this ad to carry on running, and you do not care if those children put chili sauce in their eyes, because those children are fools putting chili sauce in their eyes, and they should just carry on doing so. So the ARB half agreed with all of you. What actually happened here is we said that when it comes to children, we have to err on the side of caution. If one child is going to be an idiot and put chili sauce in their eye because of this ad, that is a problem. And we considered the fact that when the guy puts the chili sauce in his eye, he doesn't actually show that that is agonizingly painful, like you want to die sore. It looks like a thing you could do. When he puts the onions in his eye, he doesn't show that that is not as bad as chili sauce, but it's pretty damn sore. So the ad is not showing you how painful it is and how dangerous it is. The ad has an animated hippopotamus in it. So children are going to be quite interested in what's going on in this ad. And as a result, we said that this ad should only be flighted at times that children are unlikely to be watching. So we're fine with adults seeing this, because if you're an adult and you put the chili sauce in your eye because you watch this ad, then really you deserve everything that is coming to you. But for children, we err on the side of caution. We don't want one child putting chili sauce in their eyes if they don't have to. Okay. Where am I? Am I near the end? No, I'm not. Okay, sorry. Talking as fast as I can. And the complaint here is that the ad objectifies women. I'm not going to tell you anything more. I'm going to ask you, who's going to pull the ad because the ad objectifies women? Who's going to dismiss the ad because the ad does not objectify women? The question is not whether sex objectifies women. Please do not vote against sex. You've got to look at the ad. Some of you are not willing to go to bat on this one. Come on. No one knows who you are. No one can see how you voted. If you want to uphold objectifying women, I mean, dismiss, I don't know what I mean. No one's going to judge you.
We're going to be releasing how everyone voted after this public. That's a joke. That's a joke. It's all very anonymous, and don't worry.
Okay, have we closed the poll yet? We have closed the poll. Yeah, so interesting. 53% of you are upholding the complaint and pulling the ad, and 47% of you are okay with the ad. We agreed with 53% of you. The reason we agreed with you is because what we really, really don't like is for women to be chopped into pieces. We like to see the whole woman. We don't have a problem with the sex expo. It is a legal business. Apparently, the things that go on there would make your eyes pop out of your head. I thought they just sold toys and underwear, but I am told I am wrong, and all sorts of things happen there. But we're fine with that, whatever you're into. What we don't like is that this woman is portrayed, first of all, cut off at the knees. The only thing that's of interest is her lower half, and she's taking her panties off. And you can tell me until you are blue in your face that she is putting her panties on. I will not believe you. She is taking them off. The message of this ad is subtly that women are good for one thing. They don't need their heads, or they are good for sex. There are many ways that you could have done this ad in a much more tasteful, much better way. And therefore, we pulled this ad. The problem, we deal with this expo every year. Quite often we rule against them, but by the time we've made a decision, the sex expo's over and it's time for next year. Maybe 1 year they'll get it right. Okay. And finally, we are going to talk about social media and hashtag ad. And Andrew is smiling at this ad because this hashtag ad is something ARB worked with us on to introduce a social, an influencer code. And the general rule is that if you are paid for an ad, you must use hashtag ad or something similar. In this matter, this woman had run a campaign over several days where you had seen her going to parties, drinking and driving. And before this particular live stream happened, you had seen her as her follower go to a party and have a few drinks. And now you will watch what happened.
Is the year that Nomuzma Benda Music finally signs people. So this is like a call to action right now. If you're a singer, dancer, rapper, and you feel like you can be the star that my label is looking for, I need you to come up. So if you know any singers, dancers, rappers, DJs who can sing, dance, and rap.
At this point, you can see the comments that start coming up on the screen. She went silent for 24 hours. Her people didn't answer any queries, and she didn't answer any queries, and everybody thought that she was dead or very badly injured. And then she came out and she said, actually, guys, that was an ad to make you aware of the dangers of drinking and driving, and please don't drink and drive. And then she started a whole lot of drinking and driving messaging. How many of you think she should have put hashtag ad? So if we can bring the poll up, if you uphold the complaint, you think she should have put hashtag ad on this. If you dismiss the complaint, you think she should not have put a hashtag ad on it. Let's get your last things in because we are so badly run out of time that I'm probably never going to be allowed to do a webinar again. And that will make me so sad. Okay. This is so interesting. So interesting. Okay. 78% of you want her to have put hashtag ad on this. 22% of you don't think she needed to put hashtag ad on this. And we agreed with 22% of you. We did not think she needed to put hashtag ad on this. We said that the reason for that rule is so that influencers, when they tell us that they like a product, we must be able to know, were they paid to say they like it, or did they just come out and say they like it? And that's what hashtag ad is for, to protect us against the danger of thinking that their opinion is not a paid for opinion when it is a paid for opinion. We said in this ad, had it had a hashtag ad on it, the power of the ad would have been lost. Everyone would have known that this was something that was being acted out and wasn't real. And we said that the power of this and the message of this was so important that the fact that people were very upset about her being dead for 24 hours got the message home. If one person doesn't drink and drive because of this campaign, then this campaign has done its work. And we felt that hashtag ad would undermine that. So we allowed that this was not in breach of the code. Obviously, that already runs, so we couldn't pull the ad or not pull the ad, but it gives guidance to future social interest campaigns. Quickly, how to lodge a complaint. If you're a competitor, you have to pay. If you're a consumer, you don't have to. There's a website form. It's really easy to fill in. Please make your case, particularly if you're a lawyer, make it properly. Don't just go, oh, I don't like that ad. If you can provide the ad, please provide the ad. It makes us work quicker if we don't have to go looking for the ad. And if you love this and you wish that I had talked in more detail about what is actually in the rules and how the rules are actually applied, then you need to do the red and yellow course. Okay, everyone taken a screenshot of that. And finally, we are here. It is time for questions and answers. Is that? Oh, it's time for questions and answers. And I'm going to put the last slide up because I want you all to be able to write down my email. So if you think of something later, you can email me. If you want to follow us on Twitter, which is where you find a lot of our interesting stuff, it's ARB_rulings. Sorry, I'm not calling it X, even though I do on the slide. And then there is our website if you want to find out more. But let's go back to the important slide that tells you where you can do the course, and you can do questions and answers. And I don't know how we are doing this. Am I going to look at the questions and answers, or are you going to read them to me, Andrew?
I think let's do just a very quick wrap up. We're at time, so I know probably some people will have to jump off. If anyone wants to stick around for a few minutes, I know I can. I think Gail hopefully can. So we do have some time. I think one of the things we wanted to do very quickly was just a quick draw. Kat or Nick in the back end, if you wouldn't mind. And that's a draw for one of our for one of these courses. We're giving away one for free, but we're also giving a 10% discount for everyone who attended. All of the details will be in the follow-up email, which you will receive soon, in the next day or two, with a copy of the recording and more information on the course, and obviously Gail's contact details, ALB's contact details. So if there's any other questions or anything else we don't cover today, plenty of opportunity for it still to be answered. So don't feel that this is your only shot. So while we're doing the draw, there was a question earlier from Tevin who asked that I think he said that there are brands that are not ARB members but have pledged to abide by the rulings. Is there a publicly available list of who these are?
Yeah, they are on the website. If you go into About the ARB and you look under the responsible advertisers link, you will find them. Just remember that not all the members, so we've reached out to all the members of our member bodies and asked them if they would like to be listed there. Not all of them have chosen to be listed there. So what you see there is far from a complete list of people who are bound by the ARB, but you will see the ones who've put up their hands and said we want to be bound even though we're not members.
Right.
Are we doing the draw?
Yeah, I hope so. Yep, do the draw. Sorry, I was just reading questions, trying to cover as much time as we could.
Because people are dropping off.
Congratulations. I'm not sure whether you're here, but you are the lucky winner of free course, the responsible advertising ARB. So team will be in touch with details on how to redeem that.
And Given's name is not misleading, because he has been given the course. His parents knew what was coming for him. Great luck. Well done, Given.
One more question. Lauren asks, what are the rules and guidelines around doctors and medical people advertising products and endorsing them as influencers? Well, there's a few.
It's so hard. I'm sorry. It's so hard. basically depending on the scheduling of the substance, but doctors advertising themselves is against their professional rules. But I would have to do proper research to give a proper answer on that. And they shouldn't be influencers. I think their professional rules stop it, but I'm not 100% sure.
All right. Any questions? And I'm just having a look at the
I think there were some others in the Q&A.
Will asks, does ARB allow agencies to share creative that they would like to check if a creative would be offensive?
So we do have through the ACA, there is a copy, a pre-clearance advice thing. The ARB does not make the decision because then we would be biased if we got a complaint. But we do have a copy advice thing through the ACA. We are working on making that service better and kind of watch our socials. We'll be relaunching that service.
LB asks, do you have many complaints about Facebook ads or does Meta regulate sufficiently?
Doesn't Meta regulate? Yes, we do get a lot of complaints and they are difficult because it is quite hard to get them taken down. We do have a contact at Meta, but it's not always, doesn't always work.
And then anonymous attendee, which is either a very convenient name or somebody attending anonymously. How is comparative advertising that is done discreetly but obvious to consumers handled? For example, in Douglasdale, there's a billboard or a Douglasdale billboard which says, our cows have clovers for breakfast, with an animated cow eating a clover and winking.
So this is a great ad. I wish it had come before us because I love these ones where they take an ordinary word and they use it in a clever way. It's my favorite type of advertising, actually. We would ask ourselves questions like, is it normal for a milk to claim our cows have clovers for breakfast? We would ask if the use of the word clover is forced in that sentence or is natural. We would ask if any consumer knows that this is a dig at clover or if some consumers might not. The fact that everyone would know it is a dig doesn't mean it automatically gets pulled. It would be, have they got away with walking that line of using the word in its ordinary meaning? It would be a very fun one. I don't know which way it would fall. A lot would depend on how they say the word clover and represent or write the word clover. If they write it in the trademarked form, then that's a problem. Not going to get away with it, yeah. But a lovely one. I also am quite pleased in a way we didn't get a complaint because I do think there's space for this kind of poking fun at each other. And I hope that what happened is that Clover just had a poke right back at Douglasdale. Although Douglasdale's a much harder thing to poke back at.
And I do like it sometimes when the brands, I assume there's a tacit compact where they enjoy the one-upmanship. I'm thinking somebody mentioned it, and I'm not a Joburg regular. So there's I noticed it, I think it was William Nicol, I think, is that now Winnie Mandela Drive? The massive KFC billboard outside the McDonald's, which was just advertising there, I think taking a dig at the coffee, which I thought was hilarious. I don't know whether that has been flagged, but
we haven't got a complaint. Yeah, I'm always interested on whether they regard it in the fun as fun or as a real dig at their brand.
But it's very hard to avoid that as well.
Should we deal with the last two questions?
The last one. Do you have jurisdiction over responsible gambling adverts?
So funnily enough, I don't know where you're seeing that. Oh, there.
It's in the Q&A. Yeah.
Okay, to advertise gambling, it is a very hot topic internationally. And funnily enough, it was on my to-do list today to have a good look at where we are with online gambling. We do not regulate it at the moment. The National Gambling Association says that you must have those responsible gambling disclaimers, the National Gambling Board, but we are going to be looking at whether it needs to be taken further. And I have an email came in from an auditor doing a project for the National Gambling Board wanting to speak to us, and I'm hoping we're going to really be able to look at that space. And then I saw there was a question saying, there's an asterisk under the claim. I think that might be the one for the chips.
Yes, it was.
There was a disclaimer there, but it was tiny. We found that it was too small to be useful. And what are the rules governed by? They are governed by international norms, by the Constitution, and by the needs of society.
All right, I think that brings us to time. Well, it's more than time, but thank you for still a lot of people who've stuck around. So thank you very much for joining us all today. I think I'll take credit for the tech malfunction at the start. If it wasn't for that, we would be running even later because I would have waffled for 5 minutes. So we got straight into Gail, which was far more interesting. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, we'll follow up with emails with everything that you need. And if you have any further questions, arb.org.za, all the contact details are there, or ping us at Red and Yellow, welcome@redandYellow.co.za. Easy enough to find the Advertising Regulatory Board if you've got any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew, and thanks to the rest of the team behind the scenes.
Thanks, everyone. Keep well. Bye-bye.